right, well, welcome everyone to the Blue Sky podcast, 2 pints of lager and a spreadsheet. We've got 3 fantastic guests today. Welcome Mark, Billy and Jarek. Today's episode's going to be all around your journey and understanding how everything started, the highs, the lows, the word resilience, I'm sure, will come into the conversation plentiful. But yeah, and let's enjoy ourselves. So, Mark, how did Wubbleyou start? Like, what was that? What was that moment that inspired the last 12 or 13 years of your life to unfold?
Yeah, so my journey started like at Northumbria University. So studying computer science, and we had a year in industry, it was a 4-year course, and a year, the third year, we were meant to go and find a job. But this was 2009, like people were queuing up at Northern Rock to get their money out of the bank. So not a lot of job opportunities. In fact, there was one job opportunity where you paid them. So I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go back. And just walking through campus, a leaflet stuck to my foot and it said, have you ever thought of starting a business? And I was like, well, yeah, why not? So that's very opportunistic, like no plan to do it. It just sort of happened like that.
It's amazing. Yeah. So what did you do when you took that leaflet from beneath your shoe? What was...
Yeah, I mean, my thought process was really, well, if I'm going to spend a year making basically no money, I might as well have a bit of fun and start the business. And then we got through year 1 and we sort of realized actually there's something here, like we're not just messing about, like we actually have like a real like opportunity to do something cool and make some money. So we kind of like stuck at it. And then after I went back to uni, did that last bit of the course and then sort of went back and ran the business. And yeah, like that's what sort of happened ever since,
And Jarek, I've heard your story before, but do you want to talk through it? I guess the uni probably links into yours, but...
Yeah, I've been a part of the university for all my life until the point where my boss, which I very greatly respected, was leaving, and that was a time I probably had my midlife crisis, thinking, I know this life, I know exactly how I'll be looking when I retire. But I didn't know how that would look if I change things, So it is very hard case of leaving very pleasant and secure university position and dive into the world of vicious competition. That's a big step. So that was the time with no particular plan to set the business. It was just a very clouded mind, which was eventually resulting in me gradually maturing to the point of thinking that I'll be doing the troubleshooting, which was something which I was doing at the university, traveling around and potentially helping companies to recover from technical problems. But very quickly that transpired to be almost not feasible without the lathe and professional equipment. So I went into my garage, looked at the lathe, which was only small, it was all wobbly and impossible to use in the professional environment when I started to look at the premises. So that's how it started.
Nice.
Billy, you'd been in and around, I guess, startups for quite a few years before your current business emerged.
Yeah, and I still to this day, I still think, how am I doing what I'm doing? How did that all happen? Call myself the accidental CEO because we, in previous business, we were asked by the university to support spinouts. So come along, support, potentially write business plans, find finance, and find a chief exec for them to run the business. Little did I know that after a couple of meetings, they decided internally they wanted me to be that CEO. So then that conversation happened, and it was in the middle of COVID as well. So I had a decision to make: do I do it? Do I not? And I went for it, and I don't regret it at all.
Nice. I guess, do you want to give a little bit of background? We've gone from the start and there. Where are the businesses now, Mark? Where's Wubbleyou at today?
Yeah, so we have a team of 12 right now, and we're growing. So, like, we've gone through a bit of a journey where we've pivoted what we do twice because tech moves very quickly. And I think we've sort of, what we're really good at is bringing tech products to market for B2B service businesses who want to take what they do and productize it. And we've really niched down into that. And that's what's sort of working for us at the minute. And especially with AI coming into play as well, that's like quite a salient topic. So yeah, like what's sort of really working for us at the minute is just like focusing on a niche and solving a very specific problem for a very specific segment,
Nice.
Yeah.
And Billy, your business is a bit newer, but
Yeah, so we're 4.5 years in. We've now got 16 staff, which I was shocked myself because I'd miscounted. I've been telling people we've got 15, so I've missed one person out for a good
Got
one.
yourself.
I was going to say yourself, yeah.
Yeah, let's say that. And yeah, so we're really trying to scale at the moment. So we've managed to get into 6 NHS trusts, 6 commercial contracts, and looking just to scale through the NHS, through private industry, and next step overseas after that as well. But yeah, and it's been a whirlwind of a 4-year period, really.
In Jarek, business has been going quite a while now. Where is Transmission Dynamics at?
Right. I mean, you know the starting
Yeah.
point, which was effectively buying a few wagons of breeze block and trying to set the offices which weren't there. No desks, no walls, no equipment. Just a faith that something may happen. But now we are in a comfortable place. We are growing and enjoying life. I think that we still maintain that element of truly enjoying engineering. I think that is the absolute key. We are, geeks of IoT, mechanical, electronics engineering. We really enjoy ourselves, and that was effectively the driving force, not necessarily any financial targets. And that's resulted in business which over the years started to be put on a reasonably strong foundation, and started to be viable and stable. So we are good.
I think that's what I remember about the early days of Blue Sky as well, was that fun. And I think that's what surprises coming out of like the corporate world, and suddenly you're starting your own business. And it was like an unexpected pleasure that our office then was just around the corner from here. And I was like, I drove to work then. I walk to work now, which is an even better place. But I was driving at high speed up the road to get into the office, and it was brilliant. It was amazing. Yeah. Was there anything that, I don't know, in those early days that just jumped out and surprised you?
Absolutely. In our case, nothing was financially driven.
Yeah.
It was just trying to get the contracts and then buy the equipment, survive, and then dive into the next fascinating progress, fascinating jobs. And they were truly, truly inspiring and fascinating, challenging jobs for blue chip companies, which were, when you are competing with the worldwide consultancies which fail to find the solution, and you are sort of proving that time after time we are actually successful, that gives the entire technical team such a kick, that is effectively the drive and motivation. So I know exactly the feeling.
Yeah. And when we started Blue Sky, we didn't have a financial plan, and that alarms me to say that as an accountant's practice, but we didn't. It was let's get out there and meet some people, make some relationships, and kind of get going.
We didn't have a business plan for something like 10 years at all, zero. Yeah, it was only a stitched business plan when it was required by someone to say, okay, well, this is it, yeah. And that was effectively very often prepared just because it was needed to satisfy some requirements. But frankly, we're just plowing through the jobs and hoping that we'll have as much as fun as possible. So.
Billy, is that your experience as well, or were you straight into the Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah, a bit of both. I think that one of the surprising things for me in the early stages, and it was like I always remember feeling it, was the people willing to leave the corporate world or well-paid public sector jobs with big pensions and come and work in a really early stage business. And first you're like, brilliant, but then you're like, right, now the pressure's here for us to make this work, because you're now leaving that really stable job to come and do this. But it was really positive that people were going, actually, yeah, I'm sick of that. This seems exciting and new, and I believe in it, so I'm going to come along the journey. From a financial point of view at the start, it's like you write these things, and they're old an hour later, aren't they? You have plans and you go, right, well, we're going to achieve all of this, but then you've got to reevaluate it straight away. And I just realized not to get planned, but not to be too hung up on it.
Be flexible.
It's going to change, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite terrifying in the early days when you start looking at the numbers and, but you need, I suppose, some of the focus. And one of the things I remember, if it was a plan, was that vision and purpose of why we started the practice and what we wanted to do on day one was all about, you know, helping small businesses kind of get off the deck. That was what we were about, and that's kind of lives with Blue Sky, I think, to this day. Mark, did you have that vision and purpose like within Wubbleyou when you were taking off the leaflet from your shoe?
Like, not at all. I think there's a lot of conventional advice. Well, certainly we had when we started the business, which was things like write a business plan. And like, honestly, we wrote the business plan and it went in the drawer and then we never looked at it again. I think a lot of this stuff you kind of discover just by actually like trying to run a business. I think a lot of this stuff you don't know in terms of like, why am I doing this? What's our purpose? What's our message? Like, what do we want to achieve with this? You kind of discover along the way. I think like what really surprised me, to be honest, and I think catches a lot of founders out, is they tend to get things the wrong way around, where it's like they build something and then try and sell it, whereas I think like the harder bit is always trying to sell something and get money in. And it's like that really caught me out. I spent a lot of time like perfecting something, and it's like, okay, like how do we actually get people to buy this? How do we sell? What does a commercial contract look like? It's all those sorts of things which probably caught us out in the early days, you know?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I had a really early chat with one of the founders of Sage, just through one of our investors. And I said, well, what's your advice? And he said, do not wait for perfection. And he said, true story. He said, Sage's first ever product, he says, I was building it. He said, and all the market people go, come on, get it out there. He says, I went, right, it's ready, let it go. He says, and we had, 15,000 people who had paid for it. He says, and then I heard gasps when they were, on one of the tabs, it just says, coming soon. He said, yeah, it is. It'll be done in a day or two, but let's just get it out there. He said, nobody complained. Nobody asked for their money back.
Yeah.
And a couple of days later, it was there. So just don't wait for. So that resonates with me, what you were saying. We definitely did bits of that. And you can see it going, oh, well, that's not quite right. And that's actually, it's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, if you can sell it when it's not good enough, or sorry, when you can sell it when it's good enough, like you sell more of it when it's better, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing to think about.
It's that lean startup methodology, isn't it? It's kind of get it out there, get some customer feedback, because the quicker you get the customer feedback, the quicker you can give them something they're probably going to pay for as well. So
exactly.
You make loads of assumptions, don't you? Like the more you spend on it, like internally, you're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if it's got this? Wouldn't it be great? And then get the other end and they go, yeah, we're not going to use any of that. So like you say, it's like you got to get it in the hands of your customers.
Exactly.
yeah.
I guess, Jarek, that's your world, isn't it? In terms of the business in innovation and R&D.
Absolutely. I think that our approach was very unusual to some extent. Rather than trying to invent something and start selling it, we're inventing something, saying, well, it's done, fantastic, another one. And it was for quite a long time, we were generating a lot of new IP, new devices, which were occasionally sold through the jobs which we're doing, troubleshooting jobs, but very rarely adopting this strategic commercial approach, design, sell. So for some time we generated huge amount of IP, and only when Jenny joined us, it was a massive change, because Jenny's got a fantastic mindset and a phenomenal business development director. And then she said, well, this is almost feeling like a candy shop. You've got so many things on the shelves. We need to start monetizing, start selling, and that changed the way the company operated.
Yeah, I can remember going out networking with Blue Sky, and suddenly that was something I hadn't really done in my career. I'd networked within a firm, but I hadn't networked out in the marketplace. And suddenly you were talking to customers and clients and feeling what they wanted out from an accountancy practice. And I remember one guy saying, so what do you do? And I started telling them what I did, and he came back and he went, well, I don't care about any of that. I just want to know that I can sleep at night, and that my business is in good hands. And that sort of changed the mindset of what
drew our attention to Blue Sky. I don't know whether you remember, but we met for the first time after one of the Thinking Digital conferences. You were exhibiting there, and the mindset of being there amongst the very innovative, very sort of forward-looking companies, and not just the business of any shape or form, but those companies with a like-minded companies which were just plowing through with taking risks on board. Was just the time where we drew attention, saying, well, wow, we may just strike a match. And I think that since then, we're really enjoying fantastic collaboration.
I think it's an infectious moment, isn't it? Like in the early days where you're just around founders and other businesses, and it just kind of rubs off on you, doesn't it, in terms of your culture?
Okay, so talk about planning a little bit there in the early days. How's that evolved as the business has grown up? Do you do more planning, less planning, and has the lack of planning ever tripped anyone up?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm definitely doing more planning. I'm being dragged into it. It's not my natural.
Sounds like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's not my natural way. No, I'm a big get out there, do it, meet people, engage with people, all that kind of stuff. But we are doing a bit more planning because I think where we've gotten to, we started with a product that we spun out with, and what we do now is completely different to what that product was. So now we know what we're selling into the market, and that's firm now. We know what it is. We're now planning for that growth stage, right? How we're going to do that. We know who wants it. We know who doesn't want it. We know the difficulties. So we are doing a lot more strategic planning from that side of things. And I suppose the reason why I'm doing it more is starting to see some of that planning coming to, it's success is coming off the back of it. So we're going, all right, okay, if I do a bit more, that might be a bit more successful.
Yeah, my journey was slightly different because when I left the university, I came home frightened to death. And looking at the switch in the kitchen, thinking the light is on, flick it off, somebody will pay for the electricity. Yeah. That's how it started. And that's a very strong motivation. So our plan was survive, rather than do anything else. Try to survive for a few weeks, not even months, before any potentially any phone starts ringing. But obviously, as the time passes, the planning is important. When in innovation, you continuously live in this kind of invisible border between something which is invented and it isn't, and trying to pitch for the new product which isn't there on the market, which strictly, if you overshoot and then go for the development work for something which is just unfeasible, you can pull so many people into the research development and waste the time completely. And yet when you adopt the very safe mode of operation, saying, well, that's easy, that's usually not that attractive. The more risk there is in the new product development, the more returns there are. And that balance, striking the balance, how to plan that, how to mastermind the new product idea or concept is so critical, because that's the very much make or break. You either succeed in a big way or you lose in a big way. So that's interesting. Planning, obviously now as we are growing and we got this stability and inertia, is absolutely critical.
That really resonates with me because you do in the early stages, aren't you? It's just survive, isn't it?
Survive, absolutely.
So like people go and plan for this, right, let's just survive first, get enough money in so we can keep all our staff.
And then we can start planning.
And then we can start planning. Because you're right, because that's the only thing that's happened is that when we're actually, right, we've got a little bit of traction now we should probably start planning. Exactly. But before then, you just like, get anything. Just get it in so we can keep rolling.
And I think we've probably fallen into that trap before where we overplan or we try and think about too many things at once, and then you end up with something which at best is unachievable and at worst is just distracting you from what's actually important. So like what we try and do now is actually just have maybe three key things. Like what are the three key things which kind of denote a successful year, and just focus on achieving those things, and then we just look at that quarterly and monthly and just set KPIs around them. So probably that's nothing revolutionary. A lot of businesses will do that, but I think what we've learned is try not to overplan, try not to think about too many things at once. And honestly, for us as well, we're in we all are in innovative spaces, so you can have a plan for the next year, and then technology comes to market which kind of blows that plan up. Mm-hmm. So large language models coming out in 2023, and how that's changed the world has probably changed how a lot of businesses are thinking about how they engage with technology for the rest of the lifetime of the business. So if you have a very rigid plan which doesn't involve that and suddenly need to introduce it, it's kind of painful. So like having that ability to sort of like flex and move with the world as well, I think is so important when business.
Mark, how do you personally deal with that like uncertainty that's around the business? I guess in the early days, but probably is all the time, isn't it? It's like every day of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, do you mean like from a mindset perspective? Or? Yeah, I mean, from a mindset perspective, I think maybe it's cliche, but like focus on what you can control, I think is a big part of it. So I think that comes with a lot of things, like you get really kicked about as a business, right? Like if you kind of get worried about everything, then, well, I mean, I'm going great, but I'd go great faster. It's probably how I look at it. I think from a business perspective, I think it's like always being aware of like what's on the horizon and just being agile enough that you can react to that and actually capitalize on the opportunities. Are the two ways that I look at that.
Yeah, because Jarek, when you were talking about the light switch, a switch went on in my head, and I was thinking, yeah, I remember that moment of going home and suddenly thinking, wow, we've got, I think the number was £133 in the business bank account or something like that, and it was like the way that was uncertain. Like one of my traits is like I like stability and certainty, and suddenly I was in that zone. And my personal way of dealing with this, I went out and grafted like really hard, and looking back, that was probably a personal mistake, because it was like, you were working 12-14 hour days. Absolutely. Probably longer.
You become very resilient and very difficult to compete with, because you can't compete with somebody who is determined, not because of drive to succeed, but drive to survive.
Yeah. You
can pull sort of 20 hours. I remember the nights when there will be lights bright outside and I was still working. But uncertainty is obviously a very important part of the business when you are trying to do something interesting, because this is always uncertain. Initial stages is sleepless night. Frankly, it's as simple as that. But after so many sleepless nights, you eventually precondition. You start saying, well, this is something which I can't potentially survive for much longer. So you start to live with uncertainty on a daily basis, all the time, even up to now.
See, John, there's something you said there as well. Like, I don't think working those hours is necessarily a personal mistake. I think it's like, for me, I view it as, if I want to work that many hours and I work that many hours, that's fine. If I feel like I'm working that many hours because I need to and there's no other option, that's when it starts to become a mistake, because I'm kind of letting it happen.
Yeah.
So it's like if that becomes habitual and I feel like I've got no way out, it's like I've done something wrong some steps before, because I should have fixed something which brought someone in or changed what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with founders like working a lot of hours if they kind of want to do that.
It's the burnout, though, isn't it? I suppose that's where and that's where your body tells you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Body, your mind tells you where you're actually, I'm working loads of hours, but I'm actually being not effective or efficient.
That's it.
That's the key, isn't it? If you can't, great, but everybody's different, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I remember, because we started in COVID, and everybody just started home on you, and you just start call after call after call after call. And I continued in that vein post-COVID, and I went, oh my God, I've got a front door. And like I can leave and I can go for a walk. And I remember getting the most like clarity ever by just walking in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And now we've got a dog, so there's no chance of us not doing that on a daily basis. She's like, right, you're taking me out. But I'm probably the most effective when I'm on that dog walk.
Yeah.
I tend to speak to a couple of colleagues. I'm still taking in all my surroundings, and I come back with much more clarity and get on with something. So I think you're right, because some people can do it, can't they? Some people can work 15-hour days and are absolutely fine. If I do that on a consistent basis, I just drop.
Yeah, I think if you're trapped in doing that, there's like something wrong. Definitely. And I think we've all been there, right? I think you can't be. I think every founder's been in that situation where they're like, wow, like, what am I doing? This is not right.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is somebody asked us recently at an event and said, oh, what advice would you give for somebody to, go and start running their own business and that kind of thing? I went, don't do anything that's going to be easier.
Yeah. And the dogs, by the way, are very important. Yeah, we've got 2 dogs, Leo and Comet, and they are coming to work every day. And they're working dogs. Yeah, we don't pay them. but they are doing incredible job. Yeah, we didn't realize even how incredible it is, not just because they introduce a very different element of psychological kind of feel that the dogs are around, and that creates
Yeah.
a little bit of a relaxing atmosphere. But the clients coming in, they just love them. Yeah, time after time, we have this feedback that's the having dogs, and they remember the names of the dogs. They come back and saying, well, how the dogs are, and then if by any chance they stay at home, everybody's asking where are they. So yeah, COVID time and the necessity to go out was I appreciate that very much. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got our office is dog friendly as well, but my dog's just come up to one and he's got to stop jumping on tables from a sitting start before I can allow him in because he just leaps. So I'll give him a few more months and then he can start to come in.
Sure.
Yeah, what steps have you taken to future-proof the business? I guess we've talked about a few different things there, but how are you helping things moving forward?
I think for me, it's like working out the things which are dependent on me and trying to make sure that I'm putting people into positions and coaching them and training them and building them to take those things on. So I mean, we're a team of 12, but I've got like an early stage management team of 5 people, which probably sounds really strange, but actually that's helped loads because there's a lot of things now I just don't need to think about. So I think actually just getting some structure around that really, like while we're probably 12 people in, it's a bit easier. It's probably helped us out a lot. Yeah, so that's probably the main thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got 16 people. The getting people together on a regular basis, because I've got people based all over the country, getting them to understand more about each other, collaborate more. But then we can see now there's quite a few people with aspirations, wanting to do, where's my career going? So we're going to start a Future Leaders program starting in the autumn, where people apply internally for it, who go, right, actually, that's what I want to do. And there's that bit of, we've probably all seen it in careers where you see people get promoted because of length of service or whatever it might be into a management position, without giving them any of the tools to be able to get the best out of people. And you're just letting people sink. And it's not fair on either party, the people being managed or the people that you put in those positions. So trying to do that to try and raise people up, but also give them that, actually, I can build my career here as well.
I think sometimes you see people get promoted for length of service and they don't want it either.
Yeah.
It's like we spoke to people in the past where they're kind of, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, and if I can just keep progressing in the role that I'm doing, then that's kind of really cool as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's that kind of traditional mindset if you need to move up a career ladder where it's quite outdated, isn't it? And so
make those assumptions, don't we, all the time.
Yeah.
And if everybody wanted to do that, it wouldn't really work either, would it? So yeah, I think that's spot on.
And Jarek, future-proofing, I guess you've probably done quite a bit of this recently.
Right, yeah. I think that there are sort of 2 aspects of it, really. One is financial, how to financially future-proof the company. And no, there is no question about that there's any better way of doing that than ensuring continuous revenue stream from the software as a service. Yeah, once you actually exceed the critical mass, when you have more money coming to the business from software as a service, which is effectively quite a nice way of generating and securing the business into the future, you can dedicate your mindset into further innovation in a very much more relaxed way. Because the way to innovate, you can innovate really when you are relaxed. You can't really innovate when you're under very strong pressure. You must deliver that by Friday. You're almost killing the innovation. You must be playing with a mindset almost like a child. And there's nothing better than having financial comfort. Yeah? If you don't have it, you probably lost it already. But the second thing is we exceeded the size, by the way, of sort of 20 people. I loved that size. That size was so incredibly powerful. Yeah, you knew everybody. You worked as a team. Not that we are not working as a team now. Absolutely, we do. But that was a really very efficient size to manage, efficient size to collaborate. Once we exceed this size, and we are now, by the way, 80 people, 40 give or take in the UK, and then another 40 in Poland. Different strategy needs to kick in. And that strategy for future proofing is how to retain agility, how to retain that innovation, how to avoid the corporate mindsets, how to avoid the ideas which are driven very heavily by the process, which in direct conflict with innovation. So that's what we are really working very hard on. And that's down to attracting A players. Yeah? If you have really true A players who take over and then subdivide those groups where this agility is still maintained, it's the way to go.
Are you be able to manage that? Because like I can imagine, because that's the exciting bit, isn't it? When you start, you make decisions and then you just do it.
Right.
Because you're already small, aren't you? And you go, right, but we're going to do it that way now, and you get on with it.
Yeah.
But as you've got to 80, you've probably got more processes in place now. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's the corporate thing, isn't it? Because I say my wife works in a big corporate organization. You're going, oh my God, the layers of people involved to get something done.
Absolutely. I think that, when we look at the large corporate companies, our efficiency in designing new products cannot potentially be matched. I don't want to give any names of the big companies, but you are talking about the biggest of the biggest. You just enter the field of innovation. Next minute we have a meeting. The door closes and we spread around and we start. People are designing, writing, designing schematic diagrams, whatever they do. Next minute, in the large corporate-driven companies, the next minute is to arrange the next meeting, and we can effectively finish development of the complex products these days within time, say 2 months, give or take, where the large companies cannot even start the proper project development within that time. So it's a very powerful way, and it can be done. It can be done. That the point is that with the right mindset, and that's the future proving. How to retain that agility, how to retain that power, which is in direct conflict with the process-driven companies which are being bigger. Apple is an example. It can be done, but it's a very sort of fragile line. Because once you grow, inevitably you need to introduce processes. So that's the.
I seen an interesting clip about Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett, and he was talking about that. He was saying that there was someone interviewing him, and they were saying, how have you managed to deliver the way you've delivered, and companies haven't copied what you've done because it's been so successful. And he was saying that it's because they haven't got a huge corporate structure. It's a very flat organisation, and head office is a really small team. So they've kind of kept that very innovative, agile culture. Whereas he said most of the big organisations have got layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy going on that then kind of prevents all that going on.
It isn't by any means a large company, but we don't have managers. You don't have people in a vertical structure. Everybody just spreads around. When a new project comes, you create a new group of people who are just free or willing or capable of running the project, and suddenly you create a new project management team, and they are running the show. And then as soon as the project is finished, that just disperses and you create another one. And that works extremely well.
I think we see it with when we meet an early stage company in that agility and responsiveness. You can just feel it all around. And then suddenly a layer of investment comes in. There's a boardroom, there's a chairman, there's a non-exec kind of comes in, and suddenly the founders are sat there, and it's like, where's our culture?
Exactly.
Where's our culture gone? And that feels like it's the glue, isn't it? That just keeps.
That is the future proving. How to avoid that?
Yeah,
absolutely correct.
Because that's the thing. Obviously, I think like you see it in the bigger and I could feel a little bit of this with us at points where. People go, well, I'm a project manager. That's my job, and that's
my lane. So
that's my lane. Why am I not involved in that? Right? No. Things can happen without you because we're agile. We respond, and it's the customer's needs. That's where we go. I think you've got to be careful. You've got to keep that as a culture, haven't you? You've got to, well, no, actually, we're all in it together, and it doesn't matter if somebody goes into your area or you go into theirs, because it's all just for the end outcome.
Yeah. It's keeping the customer front and center as well, and that is if you can do that, then you can all focus on that thing rather than kind of creating them little pockets of, oh no, that's my thing, leave it to me. It just doesn't work, does it? Because you start creating that.
And I think this is where AI will really augment teams with that mindset as well. So I think, from a feature proofing perspective as well, like I think businesses really need to think about how AI is going to impact them, either because AI is going to disrupt what they do, like it has with, say, copywriters or illustrators, for example, or how AI is going to empower teams to operate way more effectively. So you're just competing with teams which are really effective and you're not, because you're not using AI. And I think teams which are agile and malleable and who are able to introduce AI into something which already works to accelerate are the teams which are going to win out in this as well. And I think from a future-proofing perspective, it's like impossible to sort of think about that without AI these days.
Yeah, it's like you see it, didn't you, when it all exploded? That oh, what is this thing and what's it going to do? But there is amazing power in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's about harnessing it for your company, isn't it? Like you say, if you can make yourself more effective, more efficient, other teams will just do it and do it better.
Yeah, I think AI right now is just going to make really good people even better. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the people who aren't using AI are just going to be what they were before.
Well, I was listening to Radio 5 Live on the way in, and the guy who was doing the Nicky Campbell was saying, well, ChatGPT has just told me that this is the issue with it. He just done it quickly while he was on there. I say, oh, it's the first time I've heard that on radio, and someone's actively doing it.
Yeah, I remember the 2023. I was attending this conference, South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. Yeah, a fantastic conference, highly recommended, where you just come from presentation to presentation, small booths, and inspiring people talking about their failures and successes, and it was really superb. And that's a very nice interlace with the musical concerts. Yeah, the performances in the evening just take over the entire town. Anyway, I was there listening to one presenter, Dave Rosenmorger, yeah, and that's the founder of Jasper. So the Jasper was tapping into the very, very early stages of the ChatGPT and large language models, and he very quickly realized that yes, this is actually working. I can set the advertising agents, so now you can do it effectively in seconds. But they were doing first, and they had a very large investment. The investment of, I think, 123 million, if I'm right, put the valuation of the company nearly overnight to 1 billion. Yeah, so that is an amazing start. So obviously things change once people realize there is a ChatGPT. I can do it on my own, with all the caveats of how desperately wrong it may get. Yeah, mm-hmm. But anyway, that was a time I thought, well, this is not going to be something one could potentially ever ignore. This is not going to be another kind of big change in the technological developments. It will be truly tectonic movement. Yeah, the life will never be the same. And obviously, we're still at the very early stages. It's only 2025. And, there's hardly anybody who hasn't heard of the large language models and the power generated by additional elements of it, retrieval augmented generation. When you just support the queries, complex queries by the databases, the power of responsiveness is unprecedented. We had a chat just before the podcast started about your application, which I was asking how much of that is actually the AI driven, yeah, and obviously the old-fashioned, question and answer sessions, when you press the button 2, you get this answer, and those answers are pre-programmed. These days with AI, you can generate most complex queries from most complex databases, and get answers which are better and better. I mean, it is going to be a fundamental change, absolutely.
So I'll just give some quick examples of results we're seeing, because I'm really challenging my team. I have to, right? We're a tech business on this. We do it for clients as well, but we're seeing, like, just with some easy wins, like 30% productivity gains, like with some of the things we're doing around building tech products. And in terms of getting proposals out, writing tenders, we're cutting like tens of hours out of that process, and our average response score has gone up through doing that as well, because we can focus on the stuff which matters. And we've only really been looking at this like seriously for the past like 4 or 5 months. We have a plan to really drive that forward over the next year. And I think if businesses aren't doing anything, and there's businesses like ours doing that sort of stuff, like the gap is just going to widen and widen until it's really hard to catch.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember on my way back from Austin, I thought, well, we must take that on board seriously. And one way of doing that is obviously involve large language models, but there is another way of doing that. We are a sensor company. We are manufacturing, designing new sensors, data loggers, equipment which is then distributed and doing the jobs on its own. We designed that intelligent camera, the camera sitting on the roof of the train, monitoring the infrastructure overhead line and deciding on the problems and very quickly reporting to the clients. And we actually managed, based on the just intelligence packed into that camera, to transfer the entire many machine learning models into that camera. So camera is sitting on the train and doing all the decision making, filming, deciding I can see this is the distance, this is the height, this is the impact, this is the structures, isolators, dropper wires, and catenary, identifying all of it between every single video frame. And that's powerful, that's satisfying. And that camera decides there's a danger, there is a overhead line potentially in danger because of following the storm, the tree is leaning closer to the line, and that camera decides on deploying the report automatically directly to rocks, and they actually get the reports these days immediately within seconds of occurrence, and they can stop the train. So if you are stopped next time, it's not us, it's the infrastructure causing it, but the technology is just absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah?
Someone said to me the other day, it was like business happens, and it's kind of like, it's not linear, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here, isn't it? And it's, that head in the sand moment, Mark, sounds, you pivoted your business, didn't you? And it feels like, AI is the reason you did it. And
yeah, I mean, we first pivoted in probably 2016. And the reason we did a lot of web design work, right? So building brochure websites for small businesses, maybe billing out £2,000-5,000 a day. And I remember sitting down one night, it was like 8 p.m. with a microwave pizza, turned the telly on, and it was like an advert from 1&1 for like £5 a month websites. And I was like, oh God, this is toast, isn't it? And so we set out a plan, and then within 6 months, we basically sacked all our web design clients and focused purely on custom software development instead, which was another revenue stream that we hadn't really lent into that, and it worked. Obviously, it was really scary, but doing that actually opened us up to delivering more value to fewer customers and actually increasing our profit as well. And we've been through that, and it was scary, but I'm seeing the warning signs that businesses are going to have to do this in their B2B service industries because of what's happening with AI and offshoring, which are putting a lot of pressure and commoditizing entire industries. So for example, if you were a copywriter in 2022, you were competing with other copywriters. Now you're competing with everyone who's built on top of a large language model to create copy. And it's the same with illustrators. So copywriters that want to survive need to really understand, how do we add value on top of the norm now? What is the baseline? And I think burying your head in the sands right now is ignoring that just because you don't have clarity. And the consensus I'm hearing amongst business owners, especially when it comes to AI and tech, is we're not acting because we don't know where to start. We don't know what good looks like. And actually, right now, you can probably just start and head in any direction, and you're going to be a better business than you were a year ago just by getting AI in and finding ways to make your business more productive with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see amongst our developers just excitement when we allocate them time to work on AI to improve what we do.
Yeah.
So we've got, what we're doing for customers, and they're like, right, let me have this. But then what happens is, which I think's brilliant, is rather than the customer stuff, which is fantastic, when they're doing stuff that isn't yet right for customers, that's the stuff they're sharing internally. They're going, look what I've done.
Yeah.
Look what I've improved. Because it did, like I think you were saying before, the change can be dramatic, can't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But surely there is an interesting snack about that, and this is how quickly we will be made redundant. Yeah. At the moment, there's excitement. I can type the questions, type the query, get the answer, say, well, look, this is fantastic. This is me. As long as the AI doesn't hallucinate, but it's getting better and better. This is only 2-3 years since the AI started in a big way. I had a massive pride coming back from work, thinking, I invented this today. Sometimes being really not very happy that I still struggle to do something. Yeah, that's the sort of the classical daily cycle. But more and more often, to great satisfaction and worry, I find that AI gives the answers which are pretty good and pretty sharp and better. And there is always this underlying question of where I would be, or my colleagues, in a few years' time, possibly much sooner than that, in fact, when you ask the question and AI gives the answer always better than we do. Yeah, I mean, would we, as human race, be made redundant? And I think that we are getting there. That's clearly the direction, which is developing a very interesting space. What is going to happen? Yeah.
Because that's the worry, isn't it? That's the other side of it, isn't it? It's that was always the two things. Well, we say this is a great tool, but hang on, what's this going to do over here? And I think that's like because with what we do, we're definitely keeping away from that element because we're empowering clinicians to be more effective. So we don't come in, and it's about making them better, more effective, more efficient. But I think we're one of few who are looking to do that. Everybody else is coming into our space going, well, actually, you can just remove all of those people and AI can do this at the front end for you.
Yeah. Just on the way here, we had a very quick call with Jenny Hudson, and we were discussing about the potential of employment of the new contract manager. Yeah? And I said, well, don't do that. Let's don't do that, because these days already, when you need to construct the contract, you ask the ChatGPT or any other large language models, and you get a pretty solid contract, pretty sealed, tight, and usually right. Yeah, and as I say, it is not yet perfect. It's yet not fully competing with the professional contract managers out there. Yeah? Accountants are free of that competition, by the way, I think. But it will be no time where many of those professions will be made redundant completely. It won't be in decades, it will be much less than that.
I was at London Tech Week and I walked around and every exhibit was about AI. And there was a lot of new businesses there. And during this podcast, we've talked about that early stage and the uncertainty and the human element of running a business, and whether it's like cash flow or team issues or whether we've got a vision and a strategy. And it's like, I was looking at those business owners and I was thinking, are you just going on to ChatGPT to kind of find your way through this? Or and it's that human bit of running a business that I don't think any of the AI can take away, or can it? I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure it can. Yeah, it's just we may not even be accepting that at the moment. When you ask the AI to compose the song these days, I've got many very good colleagues and friends who are musicians, professional musicians. Yeah? And when we discuss that occasionally, they get really very much annoyed, saying that the AI will never be able to compete with a human mindset. You are wrong. Obviously, that is not only possible, but it will be very quickly the present. Yeah? You can ask ChatGPT or any of the AI-driven models to paint the picture which is competing, to create a poem which is competing with the best poems. And I know that we may be scrutinized by the Nobel Prize winners in literature, very rightly, I think, at the moment, but not for so long. That is the danger. And obviously that is a worrying thing, because where we are going to be when we are surrounded by silicon, which has got the much better processing and thinking power than we. And obviously not talking about the memory, which is nearly unlimited. Yeah? And combination of the memory and the processing and inventive power is going to be astronomical. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it will automate entire industries or make whole classes of people redundant. I think it's definitely replacing people, but it's not replacing roles, if that makes sense. What it's going to do is it's going to consolidate. It's going to consolidate it in a way that one really effective person can do maybe what 10 people could do before. Because I think, especially when it comes to B2B, right? It's it was something you were saying earlier, John, like that person you spoke to in the early days said, I just want to, paraphrasing it, I just want to go to sleep at night and kind of know that everything's kind of okay, right? And that's very relationship dependent, right? It's okay, do I trust the person that I'm interacting with here? Could I go for a drink with them? Could I call them when I'm I've been kicked around and know that I'm going to get
the care?
Yeah, exactly. That sort of stuff, right? It's fundamentally relationship driven. And I think B2B business owners as well are typically sophisticated buyers who are really evaluating the relationship as much as capability. And that's why I think that teams which augment themselves with AI are going to win out in this stuff because if we look at web design, for example, what happened there is that like 80 to 90% of the market for the low to mid end of the market was commoditized in a way that you could build that with off the shelf stuff for like £5-10 a month, or you could pay someone down the road who could do it for like 200 quid, and they would just use the off the shelf stuff. And you still had the top end of the market where big players are like getting like custom things built because they really need to sweat the detail. They really need people telling them like, okay, well, we need to do this because it's going to have this sort of impact. So that's why there are still like really strong web design companies in the area. They just have to use those tools still, but actually deliver value on top of that. And I think that's what it's going to do, rather than just remove whole classes of people.
Interesting. Yes. I mean, we may have slightly different opinions here.
Of course.
Obviously, I'm not suggesting for a moment that we would replace our feelings towards each other, with AI. That's a very different thing. But I think that the business-wise, we may very soon just not being able to compete at all with the tools we are creating now. Obviously, if I asked, and probably that's not the question even to ask AI whether I should break relationship or have another child or whatever. That's so personal, and the AI is nothing. Has nothing to do with those questions, the moral obligations, moral questions, But in terms of the business development, I very strongly believe that we will be made redundant. And this is the future proving how to actually accommodate that new world, which is obviously coming at a rate which is unprecedented.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast a while ago, and that was saying that they think in the not too distant future you'll have the first $1 billion one-person company.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you'll have like a single CEO who then just fully implements AI. I guess that's the hard.
This is like an amazing topic and we could talk forever about it. And I'm just thinking about how to wrap our time together up seamlessly here. But I'm thinking like, if you're a founder today, what's that bit of advice, in this world of AI and everything that's kind of going on? What advice can you give?
If I start?
Yeah.
Be as open-minded as possible. Don't for a second believe that this is what we are seeing is not going to be taking over our lives in not too distant future. And then try to somehow put the cap on it. Try to sort of find our ways in it. Try to decide that there will be things which are already happening which would replace our inventiveness. It's a sad thing to actually accept. Many people would probably say, oh, no, that's not possible. Of course it's possible and it will be happening. But accommodating, inviting that change, which will happen inevitably, yet with a great responsibility. So I think that is probably the way forward.
Yeah, mine would be, because I think you learn more from other people's mistakes, that bit of having a lot of emphasis on getting that one thing over the line, and when it doesn't happen, so having more and more things lined up as possible. So get something to where it can be, keep communication up, and move on to the next thing from a business development point of view as quickly as possible. So when the other thing doesn't happen, because it will happen to you, you go, that's not great, but okay, I'm 80% of the way down with this one. And in the early days, we had too many, please let that happen. And then it really hits you. So having more in the pipeline from an early stage would be my advice.
Yeah, I think they're both really good points. I think for me, it's loads you learn, right? But I think like surrounding yourself with the right people, like being in communities where other people are doing what you've done, finding people who are further ahead, I think is really important. And honestly, I think if you're a very technical person, like I am, and was, like, don't forget that empathy is an actually really valuable skill. Like, it's not about just writing code. It's about, okay, well, how do you work with other people, and how do you understand what it is that they need? So when you're building products and things like that, you're building things which matter in the world.
I think my advice to myself would be listen to this podcast, because that was amazing, guys. Jarek, Billy, Mark, thank you. An amazing podcast, and thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.